Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna.
प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु।
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Naruttamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी संस्कृतिवाचालं पंगुं गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य। हरि ओम। हरे कृष्णा। Happy Navratri to all. In our discussion on the Srimad Bhagavat, we are entering the seventh canto. We spent our last class to do a quick overview of what we have covered in the six cantos and what we can expect in the seventh canto. So, we discussed that the seventh canto of the Srimad Bhagavat especially focuses on the topic of Uti. There are 10 topics which are covered by the Srimad Bhagavat, Sarga, Visarga, and so on, out of which Uti or impetus is the focus, the seventh canto. What does Uti or impetus mean? There are two kinds of impetus. Impetus for living entities to act. So, in very most simplest categorization, good impetus, bad impetus. Whenever in the world of dualities, when we speak about two, two means there is an opposite pole, usually. Good, bad, divine, demoniac, and so on and so forth. Of course, there are shades of gray in the middle, but basically the two extremes. So this canto focuses on the topic of Uti and the concept of Uti and the associated lessons and philosophical analysis is brought forward or explained the Srimad Bhagavat in the seventh canto through the divine pastime of Sri Prahlada Narasimha in relation to Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyakashipu is the negative Uti role model. I don't want to say role model because role model is somebody you look up to, but he is the personification of negative Uti. And why did that negative Uti come about? because he offended the great sages. So anyway, that pastime will come to, so I don't want to go into that. And the positive Uti example, who is the actual role model? Bhakta Prahlad. Whose impetus of positive devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead came through the positive association of the great devotee saint Narada Muni, whose blessings and instructions Prahlad received when he was in the womb of his mother. So, across the whole seventh canto, we discussed this the last time, there are broadly two parts. Most of the seventh canto is the story of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad, culminating in the appearance of Lord Narasimha. That's the culmination, which is where pure devotional service is explained, with Prahlad as the example. And the last 5 chapters of the seventh canto is where mixed devotional service, which is also another kind of uti, another kind of impetus, where the Varnashram Dharma is explained. Because within Varnashram Dharma, there is still worship of Vishnu, because ultimate objective of Varnashram is still to please Vishnu. Sansiddhir Haritoshanam, the very first canto of the Srimad Bhagavad, it is said that all the duties which are given in the scriptures based on Varna and Ashram, Varnashrama Vibhagasha, Sanushthitasya Dharmasya, Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. The ultimate objective is to please Vishnu. But while the ultimate objective is to please Vishnu, usually for conditioned souls who are following Varnashram system, there is also something for me, something for the Lord, so something for me. It is not Prahlad consciousness. What is Prahlad's consciousness? Everything is for the Lord. He sees nothing but the Lord everywhere. He sees everything in connection with the Lord. He's fully absorbed in remembering the Lord. There's no other business for him. But 99.9999 and so many more nines, a percentage of those who are devotional are still mixed to various extents. And what is the nature of that mix? What is mixed? What are the contaminants in pure bhakti? Mainly two: karma and jnana. So, to various extents, more or less. Some combos of mixed uti. Devotion is more, there is a little bit of karma mixed. Right? Or there is a little bit of jnana mixed. Sometimes it is mainly karma, but devotion is just sprinkled on the top. Right? Yeah. Or jnana, or jnana is the main and sprinkled a bit on the top. So there are these various mixes, and that is the topic of the last 5 cantos. Now that is what we discussed the last time, and now we are entering 7.1, the first chapter of the 7th canto. A little under 48 verses, this particular chapter. Now this chapter has a interesting connection with the previous chapter, because this chapter begins with a question which Parikshit Maharaj asks Shukadeva Goswami. And before I go into the question proper, what is the context? Because in the previous chapter, the end of the 6th canto, the pastime between Diti and Indra, the tussle, which led eventually to an auspicious outcome. The Pumsavan ceremony was performed, the Brata was performed, and Indra, who had come to kill the embryo of Diti, eventually ended up, cutting the embryo into 49 parts, all of whom manifested as 49 Maruts. And the matter was amicably settled, and Diti was happy, Indra is happy, I'm sorry, you're sorry, all. So all matters can be settled when we apologize with sincerity. So even within our Vaishnav culture, we have issues because we are mixed devotees. And our karma, jnana, interests are uh, trampled upon by another devotee. Usually, we will react and there are conflicts. Anyway, Indra is a mixed devotee, so was Diti. So finally, the matter was settled. But in that pastime, the way Shukadev Goswami had explained to Parikshit Maharaj that the whole reason for Diti's frustration, her main grudge, was that my son Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were killed because of this Indra. To take whose side? Lord Vishnu sided with Indra and he killed my sons. And a very interesting question arose in the mind of Parikshit Maharaj. And he begins the seventh canto with this very interesting question. He says, O Shukadev Goswami mentioned previously that Diti felt that Vishnu sided with the Devatas at the behest of Indra. And it appears as if God is partial. God is partial towards the Devatas and inimical towards the demons. But I always thought God was equal to everyone. I always thought that the Lord is impartial. He shouldn't be siding with anybody, right? So, how is it that he's behaving as if there are some parties who are dear to him and some parties who he doesn't like? Correct? Usually in this world, our own interactions are like this, right? I like this, I don't like this. The world of duality is like this. We hang out with certain people, we avoid certain people. So all this is there in the material world and is the common characteristic. But how come Lord Vishnu is also showing this kind of characteristic? Isn't he supposed to be transcendental? And Parikshit Maharaj is asking Shukadev Goswami, why should Lord Vishnu be partial? Normally, Shukadev Goswami is asking, normally a person is partial if he needs to gain something, correct? You will be partial when there is something for you to get by siding with a particular party. Either you like something or you are avoiding something which you don't like. Correct? What is usually our impetus? What is usually our uti? Our usual uti is we do something because we believe by doing that we'll either get something favorable at a material level or we will avoid something unfavorable. Otherwise, we'll just be, aimlessly sitting at a material level. What can Lord Vishnu get by siding with the Devatas? And definitely Lord Vishnu, why would he have enmity towards the demons? He doesn't have any dvesha, he doesn't have any envy. Why would Lord Vishnu have envy towards the demons? What is it that the demons have which Lord Vishnu doesn't have that he will feel envious towards the demons? Nor is there any fear. Neither udvega nor matsarya, not envy. So please explain to me this partiality, this thought that Lord Vishnu is partial is bothering me. So you can dispel my doubt. Actually, Parikshit Maharaj knows, but he is, being a great devotee of the Lord, and he wants Hari Katha to not end. He takes every opportunity to ask an interesting question so that through that answer, beautiful Hari Katha emerges. Because when we ask these kind of questions sincerely, honestly, and he doesn't ask in a challenging manner, he asks in a way that, this is how it appears, but this is not how it is supposed to be. Please explain. This is how we approach spiritual subject matter, not by challenging, but by humble inquiry. Shukdev Goswami, when he hears this question of Parikshit Maharaj, he becomes very happy. And obviously, this is not the first time. Every time Shukdev Goswami has asked a question, Parikshit Maharaj becomes very happy. Because he's not asking for when is break time, when can we go for lunch, when are you going to end, can you speak a bit faster? All this I've heard earlier. Can we move on to the next topic? Shukdev Goswami is glorifying Parikshit Maharaj. And he says a very beautiful verse. He says, Sadhu Prishtam Maharaja, O king. Why the question is beautiful? Not because it is very nicely poetically composed, but it is beautiful because Hares Charitam Adbhutam. The character of the divine, wonderful character of Lord Hari is being revealed by your asking this question, because the answer will reveal it. And it will reveal about Bhagavan, Bhakta and Bhakti, and glorify the devotees of the Lord. That's why this is a very good question. So what that means? Any question leads to discussion about Bhagavan, Bhakta and Bhakti is a very good question. Perfect question, perfect answers. Useless questions, useless answers. Useless from a spiritual perspective. Usually all living entities are asking questions. This point was discussed in the beginning of the Bhagavad itself. Where is food? Where is money? Where is job? All these kind of questions. And this may be helpful at a material level, but ultimately both the question and the answers are inconsequential from the perspective of absolute reality. But these are the questions which are worth discussing. Because these are the topics which are glorified and sung by the greatest of sages. And that is why Parikshit Maharaj says, offering obeisances to the great sage Vyas, I will now answer the question that you have posed. Giyate paramam punyam rishibhir naradadibhir natva krishnaya munaye kathahishye harehe katham. I will describe the katha of Hari. So first he gives a brief answer. He says, yes, it is true that actually Lord Vishnu is not partial, because partiality is for those who are influenced by the material modes. Lord Vishnu is Nirguna. Nirguna means beyond the gunas. Sattva, Raja, Tama, which are the modes of material nature, are manifested in this world. Material nature is composed of these three modes. These three modes drive the material world, are controlled by the Lord. God himself is never affected. Lord is neither influenced by Sattva, nor Raja, nor Tama. He is always situated in the spiritual potency. Atma Maya. When the Lord appears in this world, he doesn't take a body made of material energy. If he doesn't have a material body, how will he have material qualities? This material world is a place where continuously the qualities, Sattva, Raja, Tama, in various mixtures are manifesting in various places. and under the influence of time, their proportion is continuously changing. What does this mean? This means that Sattva, Raja, and Tama are not in a static state. They are continuously dynamic. The gunas are always unequal. And Krishna explained this in the Bhagavad Gita also. Sometimes Sattva becomes prominent and Raja and Tama go down. Sometimes Raja becomes prominent. Sometimes Tama becomes prominent. So according to the influence of time. And whenever a particular mode becomes prominent, the living entities who are in that mode, they prosper. Huh? Prosper in the sense that what is good for them happens. Good means good according to that mode. So Devatas prosper when Sattva Guna is prominent. The demons prosper when Rajoguna is prominent. And the Rakshasas and the Yakshas prosper when Tamoguna is prominent. That's all. And all these gunas are continuously changing according to time. So it may appear the Lord is favoring these people at this time and these people at this time, but no. When Sattva Guna becomes prominent, automatically the Devatas, good fortune will arise. That is why we see over time, sometimes the Devatas win and become prominent, sometimes the demons win and become prominent. This has nothing to do with favoritism of the Lord. It is all the effect of the variation in the gunas through time. Yes, the Lord is pervading everything, including directing the gunas. Ultimately, it is the gunas who are acting. So, that is the reason, O Shukdev, O Parikshit Maharaj, one cannot think of the Lord as favoring. Each living entity is situated in his own combination of modes. So even for humans, even amongst human species, there is variation. There are sattvic people, there are rajasic, there are tamasic. And all of us are mixed to various proportions also. Because the modes in the material world are never pure. There is always a mixture of Rajogun, Sattvagun, and Tamogun. So please understand, oh Parikshit Maharaj, that the Lord is never partial. This is all the play of the gunas. It may appear that the Lord is favoring. And also another point to understand is that even when the Lord seems to be favoring the devotees, that is also not partiality, because the Lord is simply reciprocating with those who are approaching him. How is that favoritism? Ye yathamam prapadyanti tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As you approach me, I reward accordingly. The opportunity to approach the Lord is there for all. The devatas choose to approach the Lord, the Lord reciprocates. The demons chose to neglect the Lord or reject him. So they do not get that reciprocation. How is that the fault of the Lord? Correct? Even in the family of demons, even though it's not mentioned here in this verse, Prahlad is an excellent example of a devotee. So are the Asuras or the Kula of the Asuras barred from Vishnu's mercy? No. Prahlad is an excellent example. Krishna says, Daityanam Prahladas Chasmi. I am of the Daityas, I am Prahlad. The Bhagavad Gita Krishna says. And then the grandson of Prahlad, the great Bali Maharaj, son of Virochan. Another example, having been in an Asura family, another very great devotee. So that somebody takes an inimical position to the Lord is because of his own disposition. The Lord is simply reciprocating with them and giving them the fruits of their own activities. So please do not blame the Lord. This is the answer which uh, Shukadeva Goswami gives to Parikshit. The Lord is beyond qualities. He's not influenced. Usually, this kind of partiality, dvesha, siding with this, all is because of the influence of the modes. The Lord is not affected by the modes. All this so-called coming up and going down of living entities of various kinds is happening because of the change in the modes influenced by time. Time is controlling. Karmana daiva netrena. And on what basis time controls? Ultimately based on the activities of different living entities. When the time for certain things based on karma is supposed to be in a particular way, certain modes will become prominent, which will allow certain things to manifest. Then when their time is up, another set of modes will come. So philosophically, Parikshit Maharaj first is explained by Shukadeva Goswami. And after that, Shukadeva Goswami feels that let me elaborate this subject. This is actually a very interesting subject. Let us discuss this in great detail. Because when we discuss about this in great detail, the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord will get illuminated. So, to further establish his point and to give further pramana proof to what he has said, Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadev Goswami refers to a historical episode which had happened in the not too distant past, where there was a wonderful conversation between Yudhishthir Maharaj and Narada Muni. So now he goes into another story. Now this story that is just about to begin, at the beginning of 7th canto, 1st chapter, which is this wonderful conversation between Narada and Yudhishthir. Where did this conversation between Narada and Yudhishthir happen? This conversation happened during the Rajasuya Yajna which Yudhishthir Maharaj performed. Which Rajasuya Yajna? That Rajasuya Yajna in which Shishupal insulted Lord Krishna and was eventually killed by Lord Krishna. That Rajasuya. Not too long ago, because this is still extended Mahabharata. Parikshit is still, grandson of the Pandavas. Grandfather's story. Yudhishthir and Narada had this wonderful conversation at that time. Let me tell you, because that conversation was very good. So even authorities, when they are asked questions, they refer to other authorities. Of course, while he has given philosophically his explanation, he's making a reference to that conversation. The interesting thing is this conversation between Narada and Yudhishthir Maharaj is so extensive, that philosophical discussion, that the entire 7th canto is a discussion of that conversation itself. Whole 7th canto is a discussion between Narad Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj. So, Shukadeva Goswami is explaining how that conversation began. So, going back, peep into the past. Scene is of the Rajasuya Yajna. And in the Rajasuya Yajna, the Agra Puja Adhikar was given to Krishna. There was this whole discussion, right? Who should get Agra Puja? Who's the most exalted? Who's the most exalted? Anyway, it's a long story, but net, it was settled that Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the Adhikari, is the only Adhikari of receiving that Agra Puja. And most agreed. Some were not happy, but they chose to keep quiet. Sometimes when you are not happy, when the majority is against you, you just choose to, keep quiet. But the Shupal couldn't keep quiet. He was so much burning with envy. This is the problem with envy. Envy knows no logic. Envy is such that when there is anything good which happens to the object of envy, you cannot tolerate. And stood up and he objected and he started blasting at Krishna, one offense after another, after another, after another. And Krishna was counting. 3, 4. Because Krishna has promised his mother, I will count up to 100. If he continuously offends me more than 100 or more, then I will not forgive. Up to 100. If he stops at 99, I will still forgive him. And it must be continuous blasphemy, one after another, after another, after another. And this time, Shupal was so besides himself. Usually he would keep a counter. Just like we keep japa counter, Shishupal keeps blasphemy counter. When he calls Krishna one bad name, he will click. I don't know what his counter was. Maybe he was pulling beads and counting, like we have Japamala, counting how many offenses. So usually he would stop before 100. He was quite careful because he knew the curse also. Not the curse, but the condition which Krishna had agreed to. This time he was maddened with envy. Can you imagine the person you are most envious about in front of you, in front of the whole world, in front of the who's who, that person is being worshipped. Most intolerable thing. So Shishupal lost count, crossed 100. Krishna took the Sudarshan. Okay. Done. The Sudarshan Chakra, his head was chopped off. And then something very amazing happened. After Shishupal was killed, it is said Shishupal's soul came out from his body like a effulgent flame. It came first up into the sky and then it went in the direction of Krishna and went and merged into the body of Krishna. In the full view of all the assembled warriors in the Rajasuya Yudh. All like shocked. And Yudhishthir Maharaj is there, the Pandavas are there. It effectively meant that Shishupal's soul achieved Sayujya liberation. He merged into the body of the Lord. This kind of attainment is achieved by very, very rare, very advanced spiritualist. Of course, the attainment of the bhaktas is even higher than this, because they go to the abode of the Lord. But even Sayujya liberation, which is the entry platform of liberation, this attainment is also, so rare that great transcendentalists are hankering to achieve. And Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking asking Narad Muni, what is this? Please explain. What is it that we are seeing? This guy, number one crook, all the time offending the Lord. Since his birth, he's always offending the Lord. How did he achieve this kind of a liberation, which is even hard for even great yogis and tapasvis to attain? Shupal was so envious. Previously, the previous ages, there was the sinful king Vena, who was also killed, not by the Lord, but he was killed by the Brahmanas, the mantra chanting. So the Humkar, he went to the hellish planets. He was punished. But this Shishupal, even though he has been in the habit of blaspheming the Lord from his birth, and his brother Dantavakra also, who also had a similar habit as his brother, both of whom were evil-minded, Durmati. And after so much repeated blasphemy, rather than being punished and being put into hell to rot for millions of years, the Shishupal seems to have got some award which even the great sages here don't get. How did he achieve such a great destination in front of everybody? My intelligence is very disturbed, Yudhishthira is saying. Correct? This happens, right? When a devotee, sometimes he suddenly sees, "Arey, this person has done so much nonsense and how he got such special mercy." And sometimes the devotee's mind becomes bewildered. "Arey, ye kya ho gaya? I'm doing so much japa, I'm doing so much this, that, so much seva, still I'm struggling." And then suddenly we hear the story of somebody, uh, just by being the parent of some devotee, he was able to chant Hare Krishna and leave his body at the time of death. I think, how did this happen? I am doing so much hard work, but I don't know whether I will achieve such an auspicious destination. How? So when we are not uh, aware of things properly, or we do not understand how things work, sometimes we tend to get bewildered. Because now, please explain, huh, what exactly is going on. So Narad Muni obviously is Trikalajna, he knows everything. And he started answering Yudhishthir's question. And he was not, this was not a private conversation. Everybody in the assembly was listening what Narad Muni was explaining. So first thing he explains to Yudhishthir and to everybody who's assembled is, all this Ninda and Stuti, the Lord has no business. What is not affected? Again, Ninda Stuti is about material dualities. Material dualities apply to material body. Does the Lord have a material body? No. So how do these glorification and criticism affect the Lord? The Lord is not bothered by it. In fact, the Lord's reciprocation, either with the devotees or the demons, is only for the benefit. Oh, Yudhishthir Maharaj, please understand, Narad Muni says, when the Lord kills demons, that is also an act of his compassion. Huh? It's not that the Lord kills somebody because, he's very angry. This guy, he called me so many names. Now let me punish him. Where is my chakra? Huh? The Lord is not agitated and disturbed like we, correct? If somebody is criticizing us a lot, then we feel like that, right? When something bad happens to happen, that person, yes, serve him. Correct. This is how he should be done. God, good job. This guy is so notorious. You have given him the right punishment. Good. Two more. So we are driven. Our uti is by the modes. But the Lord's uti is always full of compassion. Even when the Lord deals with the demons, usually the demons are taken care of by material nature only. Whatever sins they do, they get the reactions to those sins. The Lord is busy interacting with the devotees. But in extraordinary situations, and that is the topic of discussion, the Lord interacts with the demons also, but not out of any hatred, but out of his compassion. So even the Lord's killing of the demons is a exercise of the Lord's compassionate nature. It's actually a blessing. Why it's a blessing? Because if somebody is killed by the Lord, that particular entity is purified of all his sins and he achieves liberation. So good or bad? Good, no? Correct. If we are told that, the Lord will end your life now and you'll be purified of all sin and go to the spiritual realm, is that a blessing or is that a curse? For the demoniac people, it may appear that this particular body is being chopped off or killed or whatever, and it may appear as an inauspicious thing, but it is supremely auspicious. So the Lord is never affected either by praise or by criticism. But those who criticize the Lord by being influenced by the lower modes, especially Rajogun and Tamogun, they will get a lot of bad karma. So the point is, yeah, then Shishupal should have got so much bad karma. He has been criticizing. So how come instead of being punished, he is suddenly getting liberation? So Narad Muni is now moving on that topic. Generally, he starts first by saying, generally, when you criticize the Lord, when anybody criticizes the Lord, he gets bad karma. But one secret of spiritual life, Narad Muni says, let me tell you, Yudhishthir Maharaj. One secret. Tasmad vairanu nirvairena भयेन वा स्नेहात् कामेन वा युञ्जत् कथञ्चिन् नेक्ष्यते पृथक्. The secret of spiritual advancement is to somehow or the other fix one's mind on the Lord. Doesn't matter even if it is because of fear. Doesn't even matter even if it is because of envy. As long as the mind is focused on the Lord, full intensity, with full absorption, then wonderful result will come. So this is a very special clause. Correct? Sometimes there are so many things listed and then there is a star. You'll be punished like this, like this, like this. But even though you may be criticizing the Lord, if you are fully absorbed in remembering the Lord, fully absorbed, your emotions, whether it's out of fear, either out of lust, out of greed, out of envy, out of even pure love, as long as there is absorption, the effect will be wonderful. Why the effect will be wonderful? Because the Lord is wonderful. Anybody whose consciousness is absorbed in the Lord will get a wonderful effect by virtue of that continuous association with the Lord. Because Lord is so purifying that by continuous absorption in the Lord with whatever sentiment, material sentiment, eventually by the influence of the Lord's remembrance, all impurities of that negative mentality eventually disappear and only pure remembrance of the Lord remains. And one becomes fully purified. So when, like in case of Shishupal, if criticism results in continuous absorption and remembrance in the Lord, then the one who's criticizing the Lord also becomes purified. But don't be too excited. But Narad Muni is saying, if one's criticism doesn't lead one to complete absorption in the Lord, what is the result? Massive bad karma, and you have to suffer terribly. So please don't make this your sadhana. I'm going to criticize the Lord from today, following in the footsteps of. Correct? Prabhu, after today's Bhagavatam class, I've stopped chanting Hare Krishna. I'm going to give a lot of bad words to Krishna every day, morning, afternoon, evening. So this is not the recommendation. Narad Muni is clarifying. I'm not telling this is a sadhana path. This is a special case. Normally it is sinful, but if somehow one's hatred is so strong that he cannot forget the Lord at all, This itself is very rare. How rare it is? It is so rare that it is easier to be a devotee than to be so envious. It is easier to be a devotee loving the Lord than to always remember the Lord out of such intense envy, because such intense envy is also not so easy to acquire or cultivate. One will be always so intensely absorbed. So, favorable or unfavorable, as long as the feelings, the emotions are directed towards the Lord and result in absorption, excellent result will come. But if you fall short and your feeling is unfavorable, the spiritual suicide. So, Shishupal was a special case, one of those rare amongst millions whose hatred went to such an extent that he could never forget Krishna. He would get up, huh, start criticizing Krishna. Eating, criticize. Sleeping, criticize. He could think of nothing other than Krishna because of his continuous envy. And then very interestingly, Narad Muni makes a comment. He says, devotees think of the Lord favorably. And then there are demons who think of the Lord unfavorably. Normally, if one is unfavorable, one gets bad karma, but with full absorption, one becomes free from all karma, even if one has unfavorable. In fact, Narad Muni says, sometimes the intensity of absorption in negative feeling may be even higher than the positive feeling that the devotees have. Right? Correct? Sometimes when we as sadhakas come across certain individuals and we are trying to preach, and sometimes we see preach or we just generally a discussion, sometimes we realize that the dislike and the hatred that the person we are speaking to has for God is so much higher than the love we have for the Lord. And that's true. So Narad Muni says this kind of an enmity leads to an absorption which is usually greater than most of the sadhakas who are trying to be devotees. That is why Shishupal had that kind of absorption. Then a very beautiful verse. This is verse 30. Kamad dveshad bhayat snehad yata bhakteshware manah aveshya tad agham hitva bhavas tadgatim gataha. Many people attain liberation by being fully absorbed in the Lord, by dovetailing, not dovetailing, sorry, by directing their emotion towards Krishna, even in a negative way. Sometimes through lust, sometimes through dvesha, sometimes through bhaya, fear, sometimes through affection, favorably. And these examples are given. Gopya kamad bhayat kamso. The gopis develop perfection in Krishna consciousness by always thinking of the Lord, by being attracted to Him in loving devotion. Kamaha. Of course, the kama of the gopis is not material lust, it is spiritual attraction. But the example is given because it's like a female being attracted to a male. At an external level, it seems like that. Out of fear, Kamsa. Kamsa also achieved a similar result. Like Shishupal. Why? Was also fully absorbed. Not out of envy, but out of fear. All the time Kamsa would be worried. Krishna will come now. Krishna will kill me. Maybe this child is Krishna. Maybe that child is Krishna. Who is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Which child? First, second, eighth, seventh. I don't know which one. What will happen? Sleeping, waking, eating. Krishna, 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 Krishna. So Kamsa also achieved the supreme destination by being purified by that kind of absorption. and Shishupal and other kings through Dvesha. Sambandhat Vrishnaya Snehad. The Vrishnis, including the Yadus and the Pandavas, affection. They were able to always remember the Lord because of their affection. And we all common devotees, Narad Muni is saying. Of course, he's not a common devotee, but he's saying, and we all people like us, by practicing bhakti. We practice bhakti and we develop attraction for the Lord. And we try to absorb our mind in thinking of the Lord. But the bottom line that Narad Muni is saying is no matter what process one takes, favorable or unfavorable, the goal that we are looking for, whether out of love or out of hatred, out of fear, the final bottom line is, are you absorbed in Krishna? We spoke about Vena who went to hell. Why Vena went to hell? Because he was not thinking about Krishna in any way. Yes, he was sinful. Yes, he was envious, but he was not absorbed in Krishna. Kato katam katamo apina vena syat panchanam purusham prati tasmat kenapi upayena manak krishne niveshayet. Kenapi upayena manah krishne niveshayet. That is why, in whatever way possible, absorb your mind in Krishna. That is Narad Muni's advice to Krishna. Of course, for us, we have to follow the last line of the verse. By the process of bhakti, we all devotees try to always remember the Lord. Please do not try to make envy, fear, and any of these other negative emotions as practices for advancement. Those are rare exceptions where certain extraordinary demons had those emotions directed to such a level that they had full absorption. But, that's like playing with fire. If you are anything short of 100% absorption, you're finished. All your karma will come back on you. Maharaj Yudhishthir, when he heard this, sorry, before that, I forgot to mention. After having explained this, the significance of absorption of the mind in Krishna with love or hatred, Narad Muni now wants to address one concern which Yudhishthir Maharaj had raised. And what was that concern? That how come Shishupal didn't have to suffer? So at that point, Narad Muni gives one more information to Yudhishthir Maharaj. And that is the secret information. What is the secret information? Actually, the special case exception is understand that this Shishupal is not actually a demon. Shishupal and Dantavakra, Jay and Vijay from the spiritual world who are cursed to appear in this material world by the curse of the Kumaras came born in this. Now, when Yudhishthir Maharaj heard this, rather than being excited and happy, he became even more confused. Already I had one problem. I thought that answer got resolved. Now you are saying that this demoniac person was actually a person from the spiritual world. How somebody from the spiritual world will come to the material world and become so envious? How is it possible? Kya bol rahe ho aap? Arun, what are you talking? He didn't say like this, but correct. The heart one will think, na? Right? We all want to go to the spiritual world so that we'll never come back. Yad gatvana nivartante tad dhamam paramam. And you are seeing people in the spiritual world are getting cursed and they are coming down. Then why should I go there? I will also get cursed. I will also have to come down. At least that risk is there. So immediately Yudhishthir Maharaj asked, this is a big problem. What you're telling me seems to open up a big problem. And the big problem is, I always thought spiritual world, everything perfect, there is no problem, nothing. Huh? Yad gatvana nivartante tadhamam paramam. How can the servants of Lord Vishnu be affected by a curse? Their bodies are spiritual, they have no contamination. What could cause a situation like this? How can somebody who's perfected in Vaikuntha fall down to the material world? I don't believe this. He doesn't say I don't believe this, but he says I cannot fathom. ये कैसे हो सकता है? Correct? Suddenly one day, let's say we see Anant Ambani on the roadside at a station begging with a pot. And he knocks on your car window and says, Allah ke naam pe kuch de de baba. Say, I can't believe this. Why? This billionaire is begging. How can this happen? It is so contradictory. Similarly, how can somebody who is a resident of the spiritual world become such a sinful demon that is always criticizing? Please describe that curse. I want to understand the full history of what has happened. So then Narad Muni actually begins to narrate the story of the cursing of Jay and Jay. Of course, the detailed cursing episode has already been covered in the previous cantos. We have already gone through that. And that was in the context of the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. But here he is specifically focusing on the Hiranyakashipu story. So he doesn't go through that story in great detail. Narad Muni explains to him briefly that it so happened that once the four Kumaras went to the spiritual world to meet the Lord of Vaikuntha, and then these two, because they were dressed like, not dressed, they always appeared as 5-year-old boys without any clothes. When they came to the 7th gate of Vaikuntha, Jay and Vijay stopped them saying, Are Baba, where are you going? Where do you think you're going? This is not a jogger's park that you can just walk into Vaikuntha and walk around naked and go around on the lawn. What do you think you're doing? Vaikuntha. So we have gone through that episode. They were upset. And then they said, oh, why you are having this kind of mentality? They cursed them and, Lord came out. He tried to pacify the situation. And then net, what happened was that there was a choice given, either 7 lifetimes as a devotee or 3 lifetimes as demons. So Jay and Vijay said, yeah, let's finish the matter early. 3 lifetimes as demons, no problem. But we don't want to forget the Lord. Then, because the devotee is more interested in not forgetting the Lord, always remembering Absolute. So Narad Muni says that is why this Jay and Vijay were wondering, how come this Shishupal was Jay and Vijay? He took 3 lives: Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravan, Kumbhakarna, and Shishupal, Dantavakra. And after that, they eventually went back. They got reinstated in their original position. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were killed by Varaha and Narsingha respectively. Kumbhakarna and Ravan, there was the whole Ramayana episode of how Lord Ram and his soldiers fought the Battle of Lanka and killed all the demons. And then, of course, the latest story of Shishupal and Dantavakra, where Shishupal was killed by the Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Krishna. And because they maintained the feeling of enmity towards the Lord across this entire period, in any of these incarnations, in any of these appearances, they were fully purified and they went back to the spiritual. Now, one comment is made by the acharyas that we have to understand, and I just want to briefly mention this as we conclude. And this is addressing the point which Yudhishthir Maharaj raised to Narad Muni. How come somebody from the spiritual world can fall down? So, in case this question is bothering you, the answer to the question is actually this whole episode was engineered by the Lord. The curse, this episode, the Kumaras coming, all of this was arranged by the divine energy of the Lord just to create a situation by which these two associates, Jay and Vijay, will come to the earth because the Lord had developed a desire to fight. The Lord wants to enjoy. Sometimes he enjoys fighting also. So when the Lord wants to fight, who is he going to fight? On the earth, nobody is powerful enough to fight the Lord. So the only best possible option is his own associates. But how will his own associates fight? Because in Vaikuntha, nobody will fight the Lord. Everybody is devoted to the Lord. So he created this episode by which his dear associates take the form of demons so that he will appear down on the earth and engage in fighting with these demons just to satisfy his desire, have that kind of a leela of fighting. So actually, even in these three incarnations, Jay and Vijay, as Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravan, Kumbhakarna, and Shishupal Dantavakra, were actually serving the Lord. They were just satisfying the Lord's desire by taking that particular form. So the point is, Narad Muni is telling Vishnu, don't be very concerned. Nobody just falls from Vaikuntha. This is all pastime. Don't be too worried. Oh, I'll go there. I will fall down. No, nothing like this is happening. Yad gatvana nivartante tad dhamam paramam. Once you go there, nobody's. These are very special arrangements for the Lord's Leela. Just like the Lord takes incarnation, sometimes his associates come down with him. Sometimes the Lord sends his associates as acharyas come down. So from the spiritual world, acharyas, all our great acharyas, whether it's Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Prabhupada, and all our acharyas, they are coming from the spiritual world down. Are they coming because of karma or are they being forced to take birth? No, they are coming to satisfy the desire of the Lord, to render some service. They appear for a while, perform pastimes of preaching and establishing devotional service, and then they go back. But this is a different kind of service. This is satisfying the Lord not by preaching, but by taking a position which is opposed to the Lord, just to create some excitement. So this is those kind of pastimes. So when Narad Muni explained to Yudhishthir Maharaj like this, that this is what happened, and Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, he mentioned about the first appearance of Jay and Vijay, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. He mentioned one point. Yudhishthir Maharaj was struck by. He said, in that appearance, Hiranyakashipu was so opposed to his son Prahlad. There was such a big conflict. And that Hiranyakashipu so much wanted to kill Prahlad. And in that whole episode, eventually Narsimhadev appeared and killed Hiranyakashipu. That statement was bothering Yudhishthir Maharaj. Why between the father and son so much enmity was there? In Hiranyakashipu and his son Prahlad. So this chapter ends with Yudhishthir Maharaj asking, why was there enmity between Hiranyakashipu and his son Prahlad? And Prahlad is born as the son of Hiranyakashipu in a family of demons. How did he become such a great devotee that for him Lord Narasimha appeared? Please explain this to me. They're all unusual situations. There must be something interesting story behind this. So I want to know. So this question triggers off the detailed description of Hiranyakashipu's background, Prahlad's birth, that whole episode leading to the appearance of. So with this we have concluded chapters 1 of the 7th canto, and now the story proper of Hiranyakashipu and then Prahlad will begin with chapter. So we'll take questions for a few minutes. Yes, Amit Prabhu, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
So initially we discussed about Shishupal, getting Sahyajya Mukti after being killed by the Lord's Sudarshan Chakra. So obviously that Sahyajya Mukti was only temporary. He later got established in his constitutional position. Now, Prabhuji, that Sahyajya Mukti, is that the same as the liberation that the impersonalists, the Mayavadis are hankering for? Is it the same as Sahyajya
Yes,
Mukti?
yes, it is the same. That is why it is said the destination which the demons get, the destination which the impersonalists get is the same. That's why devotees don't appreciate that too much.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yeah. But in Shishupal's case, eventually, because he's originally from the spiritual world, eventually they get Sarupya and Salukya Mukti, right? So the merging was temporary. After that, they achieved their original form as Jaya and Vijay in the spiritual world. So the merging was temporary in this case. But
Okay,
otherwise, for other demons and for impersonalists, when they merge, practically, remain in that state for almost practically unlimited time. The merged state in the Lord's body or the Lord's effulgence.
got it, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Anything else? If nothing else, okay. Oh, Tarun Prabhu, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Pranam. Prabhuji, I have a question. This is regarding the gopis part which you just mentioned. So you just mentioned that gopis attachment is more to spiritual platform than the material. But Prabhuji, in general, the first attachment is generally material and then goes to spiritual, right?
Yeah.
So why? Because Krishna was born, he was such a cute boy in what I have seen and just learned so far. So first the things were more material attachment, right? Then it should go to the
So the
spiritual.
gopis are not ordinary, no? Who are the gopis? Most of the gopis have come down from the spiritual world. Then the other category of gopis are those who are sages for many, many lifetimes and done so much tapasya and purified themselves and got the opportunity to become gopis in Braja by the blessings of Ramchandra. So these are not you and me being born in Braja that, we are still in a materially conditioned state. So what is the difference between love and lust? We have discussed this multiple times. Love means the explicit desire is to please the Lord and the Lord's senses alone. And the desire of lust is the desire to please one's own senses. So the contrast to the gopis' love. So the calm of the gopis is actually nishkama. Calm of the gopis appears to be kama, but actually is nishkama. It's kama to please the Lord's senses, not kama to please their own senses. The contrast to the gopis' love is the love of Kubja. It is said Kubja was attracted to Krishna. Actually, Kubja is often depicted as an old lady, was hunchback. The Shastras don't describe her like that. She was a young girl. Kubja, you know the story of Kubja, right? When Krishna was in Mathura, the hunchback lady. She was actually a young girl. Huh? But being hunchback, she was looking ugly. But it is said she was attracted at a physical level to Krishna by seeing Krishna's beauty. But still she was purified because her attraction was directed towards Krishna. She was still eventually purified. But her attraction is a more appropriate example of kamaha being directed towards the Lord. The spiritual love of the gopis is at a totally different level. It is pure love. So the love of the gopis is like gold and the love of puja is like iron. But the point is, even if we start with that iron love, it is good. Eventually, we can progress towards gold. No matter where we start. Correct? So even for us, at this point, maybe talking about pure love, so many things. But how many of us are capable to transform our consciousness and operate at that level? It's practically impossible unless we are already purified. So we are at various levels of mixed bhakti right now. Our goal is pure bhakti. But because of our contamination, we are struggling with mixed bhakti. So through the process of bhakti, the component of attraction to Krishna and contact with Krishna through sadhana, through seva, will remove the impurities, which will eventually bring us to the point that all impurities will eventually go and will be fully situated in pure love. So that's the journey that we have to traverse. Okay? So yes, normally for most living entities, when Krishna entered into Mathura, so many were attracted to him. Wherever Krishna went, people were attracted to him. Were they attracted out of pure love? Some would admire him as a powerful person, some would admire him as a great politician, some would admire him as a beautiful person. Different people would get attracted to Krishna in different ways. But what is the kind of attraction that Bhagavatam is talking about? It's talking about the attraction of pure love, where the faith and the ultimate desire of the living entities, I just want to serve and please the senses of the Supreme Lord. And my entire happiness lies in giving him happiness. It's gold class love. That's why I said the love of the gopis is that you have to see, at the top of the tallest building of the world, and we are standing on ground floor, up like this. Slowly, slowly, we have to go higher. The good thing is that our spiritual masters are there, our acharyas are there. They are lowering a rope for us. Hold it, I will pull you up. That is our good fortune. We are connected. Otherwise, to climb all the way up is very, very practically impossible. To attain that kind of love without the assistance of those who are already at that platform, there is no hope. Okay? Did I answer your question?
Yes, bro. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
So right now, even though our motivation is not fully pure, the bottom line is, even though our motivation is not, we are trying to make it pure, but it will not be pure. Okay? We may think it is pure, but let me tell you, it is not. Because by virtue of our conditioning, it's not that we are deliberately doing it. By virtue of our conditioning, we ourselves don't understand how we are being selfish, but actually we are selfish. But nonetheless, we should continue. That's why we say those words, no? Akamo sarva kamo va moksha kamo udaradihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether you have material desire or no material desire, desire for liberation, desire to go to heaven, whatever desire, you worship Krishna. Again, the same point which Narad Muni is saying.
Mm.
Don't be depressed that, oh, my love is not pure. Oh, this is a problem. At least you have some attraction to Krishna. Focus on that attraction and cultivate that attraction through the process of sadhana bhakti. By virtue of that even little connection, pure devotional service, gradually it will burn away all the impurities and your percentage of devotion will increase and karma and jnana will gradually get removed. So we should not be depressed. What we have to do is we have to hold on to the positive aspects of bhakti. So the good thing about bhakti is that if you are fortunate to receive faith in the process of pure devotional service through the good fortune of being connected to those who are in the parampara of pure devotion, if that seed has been there in our heart and we are attracted to cultivate that kind of love, that is our prayojan, then we are already greatly blessed. And we have to hold on to that and cultivate it. And gradually that path will become traversed through the blessings of the great souls. As long as we don't offend great souls and we remain on the path, we will definitely reach. Okay? Puja Mataji, you have a question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Dandavad.
Prabhuji, my question is like it's a simple question. Like we say only Krishna can give the liberation. Then why do people say if someone leave the body in the Kashi, then you will get the liberation?
Because when
Why
a
then?
person lives in Kashi, it is said that because Lord Shiva is such a great devotee of the Lord, the scriptures say that somebody passes away in Kashi, Lord Shiva personally comes and at the time of death whispers the name of Ram in the ears of the person who's leaving his body in Kashi. So by virtue of him remembering Ram, he achieves liberation. This is what scriptures say.
Oh, okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, sir. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. That's why the Lord is Mukunda. He's the giver of liberation. Of course, personalities like Lord Shiva and Durga Devi, they are in one sense non-different from the Lord because they're not jivas. Lord Shiva is the only reason we say Lord Shiva cannot give liberation. Actually, cannot is a bit not a very exact word, but for the sake of simplicity, we say it like that. It's because as an incarnation, he is not of the category of Shuddha Sattva. Because by his own will, he has accepted the influence of the modes of material nature by consorting with Durga, who is the material energy. That's a technical explanation. But in his pure form, Lord Shiva is capable. Because in his pure form of Sadashiva, in Tattva, he is of the category of no influence of the modes. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. But as far as Devatas are concerned, the Devatas are not able to. When we say Devatas can bless with liberation, what is possible is some Devatas are already pure devotees. By virtue of their being pure devotees, if they bless us with pure devotion or liberation, Krishna will fulfill it because they are pure devotees. But the actual liberation will come from Krishna, not through them. Huh? Correct? Yeah? Because Krishna is so obliged to the pure devotees. If the pure devotee says to Krishna that please liberate him, then Krishna has no choice but to liberate. Works like that. That's why the devotees are so dear to the Lord that one must be very careful not to offend them. because you really don't know who is who. Okay, Hari. Anything else? All good?
Prabhuji, how
Okay.
do you answer of every question?
Sorry, no, go ahead, sir. What is that?
Prabhuji, how do you know answer of every question?
How do I answer every question? You are asking all simple questions. You're not asking difficult questions.
Means, this is in general, Prabhu. Whenever we have any doubt, any questions in the mind, we get answer.
In the last 30 years, I have contemplated on all these questions and asked these questions to hundreds of devotees and heard from hundreds of devotees. So, I have gone through the journey that you are now going through. So you will also one day be in the same situation that I am in, or maybe much better than that. That so yeah. So just continue on the journey. We are all at on the same path. We have just traversed different distances, but we are very fortunate. I was just reading today in another context. I just came across the internet. There was a question: how many ants are there in this world? Ants. And the estimation that scientists give, we have 8 billion approximately human beings, right? 8 billion. Number of ants estimation on Earth, 200 quadrillion. 200 quadrillion ants. Now, if you don't know what's a quadrillion, later you can Google and check. It is crores. And this is, we are talking about one species, ants. And why I'm mentioning this is, if you try to even fathom the total number of living entities on this planet, it is inconceivable. It is inconceivable. And then humans are such a tiny fraction. Such a tiny fraction. And out of human beings, devotees are such a tiny fraction. So, if you really think about it, we cannot fathom the extent of good fortune that has befallen us somehow. I'm mentioning in that context. So, let's all try to make the best of what we have. The good thing is, Neha Bikrama Nashosti Pratyavayona Vidyate. The only one who can spoil it now for any of us is ourselves. Nobody else can spoil it for us. And usually the spoiling happens in one of two ways. One is we become weak and give up our sadhana. Then gradually we stop our chanting, stop our spiritual practices, and we that way go away because of weakness, or if we commit offenses towards the devotee, then usually it is the second, more often than not. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, if you always chant Hare Krishna, which means you don't give up your sadhana, and you do not criticize anyone, which means you don't offend, guaranteed you will achieve the supreme perfection. Depending on your intensity and other factors, some may be faster, some may be longer, but nobody can watch this up for you. That you must be sure. Nobody can watch this. Because actually we don't understand. We have the direct protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his agents. We don't understand the kind of protection we have. There are many episodes where the Lord has shown and revealed certain things. And I cannot share that from there. My God, it's too far out. We, even though we are ordinary in one sense, in the eyes of Krishna, everyone is extraordinary. Those who has taken the process, we don't think of ourselves as extraordinary, but in Krishna's eyes, very, very special protection of the Lord. So ultimately, if anybody can botch up, it's us. Okay? Thank you very much. So please value the good fortune. Sorry, before we end, so I had informed that we will resume our CCSB combo. So this Tuesday, which is another 2 days, we'll discuss Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we are resuming back to that mode. So I'll see you on Tuesday evening. Okay. Thank you. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Vinod.
Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dandavat Pranam.
Archana
And a
ji, Leela
wonderful class.
Mataji.
Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Indulekha
Prabhu.
Mataji. Rita ji, thank you. Bhaskar, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Sini ji, thank you. Hope you're doing well. Sridevi Mataji. Sachi Prema Mataji. Shalini ji. Amit, Priya, Anand Sundari Mataji. Thank you all.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
I hope you will make it possible to join on Tuesday. I really look forward to seeing all of you. Yeah. Suraj, Shalini ji, Hare Krishna. You all.
Hare Krishna.